So we can go ahead and get started. You should see my screen that says Be a Digital Detective, and that's why we're here today. My name is Leah Adrian. I am part of the Neighborhood Assistance Center with the City of Austin and part of Development Services. Um, what we're going to do is, so today, this is the format, just a general overview of the today's session. We're going to look at 3 programs: Property Profile, Austin Build Connect, and Development Tracker. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. And I will ask if you do have questions, if you'll put that in the Q&A box as opposed to the chat box, it helps just kind of keep those organized. So at the end, we can work through those. And if there's other technical issues, you can drop something in the chat, but otherwise, we are going to, let's see. Now, can you all see my screen? There we go. I think that's better. Now, okay, you should be able to see my screen. Perfect. So yes, again, this is today's format. We are going to that's going technical difficulties. Let's start back at the beginning. Apologies. That sounds like a all right. There we go. So again, this is going to be just I'm going to give the overview. We'll have a Q&A session. And then again, this is the format for today. We're going to talk first about development services. So development services, it's a community focused, this info series is a community focused series. We've been talking with various experts around the city about things like how high should your weeds be and how to plant native plants. So at the end, I will share the registration page where there are other options that you'll see. But DSD is here for compliance with the built environment around town. We handle permitting, inspection, and co-compliance, and we are housed within the Permitting and Development Center at 6310 Wilhelmina Delco. And today we're going to learn about data and how that can be used to help you as a resident or a person that has interest in the city of Austin, and how that can help you. So these tools are helpful if you're buying a new home or you have a business and you want to learn about the property you're looking at. You can find out specifics about a property before you apply for a permit. So if you are trying to build a deck and you want to know things like allowable buildings or restrictions on the property, you can use these programs for that. If you're just curious about development in your neighborhood or around your job or anywhere in Austin, if you are interested in researching environmental things like floodplains or tree canopies or even the salamander habitats around town, and if you want to receive notifications sent to your email, you can also use the programs we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between the presentation and the internet to show you live what they look like. But when you do receive this presentation, you're going to have screenshots of what I've worked through. And that should, one, hopefully help refresh your memory, but also if there's catastrophic failure with the internet, I can still show you what to do. So today we're going to start with how to find the programs we're going to talk about. So they're not helpful unless you can find them. So we're going to switch over to the City of Austin homepage. So this is a great place to start. This is austintexas.gov. You can find many different things, but for us, we're going to navigate to the Development Services Department website, and that's going to house all of the programs we'll talk about today. So if you go to this departments tab, it should pop up here. You should see this development services link, but if not, there's a full directory of departments that you can navigate to. And we're going to pop over to development services. And from here, if you notice, there's this codes, resources, and tools option. We select that. And you can either scroll down or we can just go to online tools, and I'll go down to these accordion menus. And within property search, this is where Austin Build Connect and property profile links are. And if we're going to the development tracker, it'll be under notifications. The other thing is at the end of my presentation, I've got links for all of this. So you can save those, bookmark them if any of them are super helpful. But that's how you get to the actual programs through DSD. You can also Google it or whatever search browser you want. But if you're going from the homepage, that's how you find them. So here again, a little screenshots. The first program we're going to talk about today is Property Profile, and I like to say this is the data collector. It is a way to search and find more real-time information for the city. Some of the benefits is that it has so many different data sources that you can find. It's limitless, it feels like, information. But unless you're familiar with the platform, you can either lose some of the functionality or it can seem a bit overwhelming. It's designed to provide more up-to-date information. In general, there's an update every night. Some things are updated in real time. And then there are some layers, like from the appraisal districts, that update monthly. But in general, it's up-to-date information. These are some of the data sources that come in. Amanda, which you'll see throughout this program, and that is the permitting system that the city uses. So everything that is permit in related is housed in Amanda. That's the system that the city uses. But it also has information, again, like from appraisal districts or zoning cases, or Austin Utilities has information, watershed, just a variety of sources that come in. I will say, just in general, there will be an update to the property profile system that's coming up in the fall. The functionality will be the same, but it will have a look and feel that may be a little bit different. And we're recording videos for that, so you can enjoy the same benefits, but just a refreshed look. In our demonstration today for property profile, we'll go over the different toolbar tabs, the sidebar information, and map view, and then searching within those different areas. Just in general, you're going to see the toolbar tab at the top. That's going to be where your tools live and where you can get to the different functions. The sidebar area is going to have just the information available, and then the map view will help just to where you can have that nice visualization of what's going on. And so with that, again, we'll go back over to our interwebs and look at property profile. This is, again, kind of the workhorse. It's got so many different functions. But the first thing I want to point out is that this help bar right here, if you want to find out more information, there's the quick start that has some nice screenshots about overview of what the information is. And then if you wanted to really get into much more detailed information, it has this nice 40-page guide that you can use. So that's available. But for today, we're going to look at a few things. We're going to look at how to search for information using this search and identify data area. We'll look at address searches. We'll look at how to do permits by addresses. And we'll just do a quick overview of the visible map layers and then the query function. Different areas we can look at. For the address search, you'll notice here you can search by an address or an intersection. If there's a segment by street name, there's different ways to find pockets of information. If you know a specific property, then you can start with that. You can type in that address, and that's what we're going to start with today. And the address we're going to start with is our beautiful Permitting and Development Center building. So 6310 Wilhelmina Delco And you'll notice when I start typing, there's going to have these pre-populated addresses that come up. You're going to want to select it when you see the address come up. You don't want to type out the whole thing because then the search functions don't work as well. So we're going to start with the 63 Wilhelmina Delco. We're going to press submit, and then you'll notice that things change. Here's the sidebar information. And within this, you'll see things like the property address, the jurisdiction. So if you put in an address that's in the ETJ or the 2-mile radius, it'll say something different. What the zoning is for the property, which council district it's in. You can see there's a few links here. So this property profile report, if you select that, it will come up with this. It'll download a report, and that report looks like this. And it's a nice little snapshot of the property itself. Any property that is within the city will have this come up too. So that'll download, and you can save that. You're going to have that street address, again, just that type of zoning. You're going to have when the property became a part of the city, so when it was annexed in the city, its legal description. And then because this is a large project, you're going to see lots of different permits. These are the expired ones. And we are going to scroll down through these various permits what the city has. So this is all the permits that were created and applications created when this property was built. And you'll also see this community registry list. So our department, our group, the Neighborhood Assistance Center, maintains the community registry as well. And it's just a repository of different community groups within the city. And so all of these different community registry groups, one of their border, that property is contained within their borders. So this is just an overview of what that address was going to come up in that sidebar. But what happens when we select one of these documents, one of these permits? I'm going to go up to one that was fairly recent. It is this, so I'm going to select this one, this permit review and this plan review. And when I do, you can see that is a specific permit or plan review for this property. It'll give you just the case number, what type of case it is, the status of it, and then in property profile and also with Austin Development Tracker, you're going to have these Amanda links. They are going to be, you can select it. And when you do, it'll take you to that permit information or that case information in Austin Build Connect. So you'll see that multiple times when we are going through different programs. And that's just this permanent link that goes to that specific application. That's just the general overview of when you do an address search. Again, what will come up for that property. And next, we're going to look at permits by address. So we're going to keep this Wilhelmina Delco. We still want to know what's going on around the office, but we're going to change this buffer. You'll have a few options. So if it's going to give you that perimeter of 250 feet up to 2,500 feet. And so when we select that, it'll go in and out. It's going to do its thing. Okay. So now what do we see? We see a few things that have changed. One, this sidebar collapsed, which you can expand or collapse that as you want with this arrow. You're going to see, if you zoom out on the map a bit, you'll see that 250 radius. Just going to see what it looks like. So that's the envelope that we just selected. And then this table at the bottom that populated, it's going to show the permits, the different types of applications within that boundary. And down here, you'll see a lot of them are for Wilhelmina Delco, but this one that's 604 East Highland it changes that circle to where you can see that it is blue, and that's for that specific property. Briefly, just some other functions here. You can expand that list, especially it's a large list of permits. You can collapse it back. Same thing with, again, that sidebar. Open, close that. And then you can actually, with this, you can switch to a list, which is going to pull up the same information just in that sidebar tab. And you can also export information to CSVs or an Excel spreadsheet. From here, let's look at what happens when I press this 604 East Highland Mall Boulevard. So that is, again, a permit that happens, or application within the boundaries, that 250 feet around that property. And it will show you in the sidebar, again, the permit information. So it's going to have that permanent link to Austin Build Connect, which, again, you press it, it's going to open up that specific permit information linked to this application. It's also going to give you, again, that permit number, a general work description of what's going on, when it was issued, and just general overview of what's going to be in that Austin Build Connect platform too. And you can look at different ones. So if you press electrical permits, it's going to pull up a different area of circles. Same thing with if you have plumbing or mechanical or other permits. This is going to have things like site plans or zoning within this footprint of that 250-foot radius. So that's just a general overview of the permits by address. If you want to use that function about a specific, and this might be helpful if you're taking a look at a property and you just want to know about what's going to happen in the future or what's happened in the past, just to get that history for that property. Another option is this change visible map layers. So the different streams of data are going to be part of these different layers. And we can turn the layers off or on, and it's going to be based on, what you're interested in looking at. So for example, I want to see these street labels because as I zoom out, not everything is shown. So I just want to know what all these little streets are. And so it'll give me all these little streets, what's going on. Another thing is you can do, if we wanted to look, for example, I'm interested in the different cases that are in review right now. I would go here in this review case and select zoning review cases. And when that happens, it changes things. You can see these little pink areas, these little pink case numbers that pop up. And so those are zoning cases that are in review. And if we kind of scroll down and look at them, it will show us a little more information. You'll see the footprints of the different cases. And if I select one, so either within that footprint or the specific case number itself, it's going to show me, it's going to highlight the area. And then it's going to show me this box at the top that says, and where I can do view additional details. I'll say personally, when it gets to this point and you zoom in a lot, those addresses can get a little busy for me and become distracting. So I often turn that off, especially if I'm researching specific topics. And it's just a little easier to view what's going on here. But if I select view additional details, again, it's going to tell me, one, that there's that link for Austin Build Connect. It's going to tell me what the case number is, the name of it, where it is in the status. So it's in review, and it says that it is scheduled for a hearing. And this is going to be just that description of the work of what's being requested in that case. But if I wanted to dig deeper into it, I can just select that Austin Build Connect. It's going to take me here and I can review all the nitty-gritty information and get into the details for that specific application. If I'm done with this, I don't want to look at this one specifically anymore. I can select a different one. It'll pull it up and it gives me again that same information where I can view additional details. But if I exit out, I can go back in here and I can turn in or turn on more or will reduce the different layers. So turning those on, turning those off, there's some pre-filled selections that you can check, if you want to look at demolition review cases or residential intake, they're already pre-populated to turn off and turn on those layers that are most helpful for researching that information. For the next section, we're just going to look at query function real quickly. It contains the same data sources that are in those layers, but they are specifically, if you just want to search for one set of information or just view it. For example, if I want to look at zip codes around town, I want to know that all the zip codes that start with 787, which is Austin, I can search that and it'll pull up a list down here. But if you want to visualize it, you can zoom out and it breaks up, for example, the different areas of Austin. You can see the lines. Or if I want to know specifically where is 78725, I can press it and it will highlight that area. And again, that's just an example of ways that you can use the search function or the query function. And there is a ton of information here. And this is helpful if you are looking specific for like a specific data set to just turn those on and poke around and see what you can find. So that was address search, permits by address, visible map layers, and the query. There's many other things you can do with this to like draw and measure, and you can print reports. But for just today, there's that overview. And then if you wanted to learn more about those, you could go to the help and read more about that in the in those help documents. Again, here's all the different screenshots where we're going to talk about that, what we just talked about, to help you understand property profile. But next we're going to look at Austin Build Connect, or ABC. And this is, again, the data specialist. And it is a way to dig deeper, again, into this either specific permits or broad permit categories. Some of the benefits is that it does have contact information for parties, and you can review some of the documents associated with permits. One of the quirks is that search terms can be tricky, so I'll show you how to navigate that as well. In general, it is the online portal for the city of Austin. It's the external facing system for the applications for permits, and it is a way for people to apply and then pay fees and schedule some inspections. But you can do a public search with no login required. The data source, again, is Amanda. It's the main data source for this, and which is used to manage those cases for development, permitting, and inspections for the city. We're going to look at the two different ways to search tab 1, and then which is through specific permits, and search tab 2, which is just a more broad search function. And then we'll look at a permit to for more details, just what those look like. Back over here, we're going to look at front page of the Austin Build Connect platform. The first thing that I want to point out is there's this link right here. So that's the ABC manual, and it will open up this web page. And so if you are need help for a specific thing like a password reset or registration for the first time, it'll show you screenshots about how to perform the actions that you're looking for. So that is, again, this top ABC manual. If I wanted to log in and manage the my applications or my permit fees, I would log in here. But for today, we're going to look at this public search function. And I will say when I'm doing some of the work in ABC, it can lag a little bit. So there may be some awkward pauses while it's doing its thing. This front page you'll see also, you can either search by the permit number, or if you have a specific case number, or you can search by a property address or what type of work you're looking for. For this first one, we're going to use this permit here, which if I search, we'll see if it takes forever, and if it does, I have it pulled up here. So this is what it looks like when that permit is pulled up. See, it's still thinking. You're going to see the folder details, the information, the property details, and we're going to go through this later on, but it'll pull this information up specific to that permit that we put in. Here's what it looks like. Here's the case number, the description of what it is, and the type and the address, project name. And then if you wanted to get into details, you could look at the details. For Austin Bill Connect, if you want to go back into search results, you want to use this back button here. You don't want to press back on your browser because it will not work. It'll give you an error message. So if you wanted to go back, you would press that back button. Don't press the back in your browser. If we wanted to do a search though, let's say for the property project names, that date range, we're going to go here, and we can either type in the address, which we'll do in a minute. But if you want to just know just general information about types of cases, so if you're interested in learning more about, we're going to just say driveways and sidewalks, but you can specific things if you wanted to look at historic review or just a section, you can do that here. So for example, we'll say we're going to look at some driveways and sidewalk permits, the type of them. We just want to look at residential driveways, and we're going to say new ones within the city. And the default date range is, a year in the past. So today would be 7/30/2024 to today, 2025. If you do a search and you don't find as many results that you were expecting, I would suggest taking that, and you can go all the way back to 1900 if you want to, but we're going to just put 2023. So let's look at the past 2 years of driveway permits, residential driveway permits with the city. And when this searches, this may take a minute. Oh, no, here we go. It's going to pull up a list, and you can see that there are many, many, many right here. There are about 896 results. You can scroll through looking for different ones, but you can also come up here and export those results. And when you export those results, what it will look like is a spreadsheet. It will not look like this. I went ahead and changed some of the formatting just to make it where you guys can visualize what it looks like, but it's going to be the same type of information. And from here, you'll see that there are 889 cases that were downloaded, and where they are in the process. And so if you have a large data set that you're interested in researching, this is a good way to do that. And again, that's just going to be searching. If you do it even by property and there are multiple permits, anytime that there are multiple cases listed, you can export those results. I think we should look at a specific permit. So if we're going to look at a specific permit, we're going to come back over here since it's already pulled up. This is that permit that we pulled up from property profile about at 6310 Wilhelmina Deco. If we want to search for that though, we're going to get rid of all of this. And to show you, when you type in ABC, it's not going to auto-populate. So you can type in as much information as you know. If you don't have a specific number, house number, you just want to know the street, you can put in, just Wilhelmina and then pull, change the dates and it'll pull up a longer list of permits. But for this one, we're just going to take a look at this one. This is for a commercial remodel. It's a plan review. And on this first page, what we're going to see is this application details. For the application details, it's what it's going to say, or it's exactly what it is. You're going to have the case number, what type of work it is. So this is a remodel, and this is approved. Just a description of the work that's going to be done in that permit. And then this shareable link. So this is that permanent link that populates in property profile and development tracker that you can share. And if you wanted to share specific permit information to someone or to save it for yourself, this is that shareable link. The next tab is the additional information, and it is going to vary based on the permit or the case that is being housed in the system. For this one, you'll see, it'll show you the zoning. It will show you what the current use is and what the proposed use is. There's a lot of information, but it might be helpful, let's say, to see the required reviews. So for example, on this application, yes, there needs to be a building review, but no, we're not going to look at the medical gas review. We don't need that. And then that corresponds to inspections. Yes, we're going to need a building inspection, but no, we don't need a medical gas inspection for this specific permit. And again, there's a lot of information here. You can scroll down, and again, it will vary based on what type of permit is here. The next one is property details. It's kind of boring. It just says the address and then a legal description, but it's helpful. People, so these are going to be your applicants, your owners, and your general contractor. Sometimes depending on the permit, if it's a homeowner and they're, building a deck, it might be the same applicant, owner, and contractor might all be the same person, but it'll have a phone number, it'll have some contact information there. So if you are interested in a larger project and have questions, then that might be a good place to start, as to reach out via email or phone. The folder fees, what it says, these are all the fees that are associated with that permit or that case, so you can see what they are and their payment status. The process and notes, this is going to be helpful it's going to show your different reviewers and their contact information. For example, Gabriella is coordinating these reviews, so she'll be in charge of making sure that the process is moved on. It'll have a work number, it has her email address. And for example, the commercial building plans, it shows that they were approved, the approval date, how many times that those applications were submitted for approval, and then again, who did that review. Other ones are, if you have inspectors, they'll have inspector information on there as well. And so this is the contact information for the city of Austin. And then lastly, the folder attachment is going to show the information for those approved plans. Depending on what the permit is or the case is, you'll have, some of these are going to have 100 attachments if it's a large site plan review. Others may have nothing, but if we looked at one of these, I've already downloaded it because I know, you're going to see this is what that downloaded information will look like. It's 11 pages. This is going to show you what the application is itself. And then it'll show you just a general overview, like what the project is. And again, this is going to vary per each of the documents. And these are, once the plans are approved, then they are uploaded. Caveat is, if it is a copyrighted set of plans, think Tesla plant, it might not be shown here. So that is Austin Build Connect. That's the information that you can find in the system. And next, we're going to look at our development tracker. So here are your screenshots for future use. So development tracker, this is our messenger. They're the ones, this is a system that you can sign up for alerts to be emailed to you based on what area of interest you have. The benefits that you can set up those alerts to send to you. They also have different map visualization options. I will say that one of the quirks is the email messages can be confusing sometimes. But you'll have those to where you can set it up and receive them either daily, weekly, or monthly. It is development tracker. It's an interactive system. It's used to track development and to create those notifications. And again, it's going to have the information is going to be coming from Amanda. And then just as an FYI, Tyler Technology is the system that services this, as well as Tyler also does the open data portal information. So if you're familiar with that system, it is also managed by Tyler Technology. And then today we're going to look at just the different panels and the search function review, and then how to set up alerts. And so that's it. We're going to move back over here and look at development tracker. The first thing I will say is it's busy. This is a busy screen. There's a lot going on here. It is the different areas to look up here. If you see this top, it's going to have the development services department. These will all open up so this link goes to the DSD homepage. This will take you to Austin Build Connect. This will take you to the open data portal. And then you've got the privacy policy. And then if you sign in, which I'll show you that in a minute, because you'll have to do that if you do set up alerts. On our left panel, you'll see some map options. It'll just show you some outlines. So the map options, you can change it to outline council districts. If you change it to zip codes, you'll see that the outlines change. And then some neighborhood planning groups through here that have neighborhood plans. You can also change it from the street map. There are heat maps. So as you're searching data, it would change, the heat map would change. And then the choropleth map, which again, it's just a data visualization. So it'll show you just with colors down here at the bottom, just a good visualization. You want that. We're just going to keep it at this street map view for simplicity. Over here too, as you're searching, this is something to keep in mind, this date range. The default is the past 3 days, but as you're digging down into information, you can change it to week, month, several months, or if you wanted to have a custom date range, you can change that there too. The permits and cases, this is where you're going to find the different types of information that you can view in the development tracker. If you'll notice, these colors coordinate to this top bar. So purple zoning, you've got the neighborhood planning groups. They match the colors down here. You can also press this download above data sets, and it will take you over to this screen, which shows you if you want to view or download all of the zoning cases within that date range, you can do so here. And that will take you, these links will take you to the open data portal for you to be able to either view or download that information. On our right side, we're going to see, this is going to have an overview of setting up to create alerts. You can also filter the map by geography, and then explains on known issues. I'm going to refresh this. Again, one of the quirks about Development Tracker, it's not buggy, it's just persistent in certain ways. So often I find that refreshing it will help reset everything. If you want to look over here, you're going to see some trends with the permits and cases. And so within this view where all those little numbers are, it's going to show you information here about the different trends. It's helpful for visualizing information, but if you change that to the past week, it'll also update those. So you can see where building permits may have over the past week, the applications have gone down or up, and especially if you're looking at long periods of time. For the address search, like property profile, you're going to want to, as you type, it will auto-populate some information, and that's the address that you're going to want to select. So with, we're going to say our Wilhelmina Delco property, here's our building. You want to make sure that you select the address, not type it out fully. And if we look, we can do a couple of other things here. So we want, if we change this radius to, let's say, a mile, then it's going to open up that radius and we can look at the different permits specifically. You'll see the numbers change. So these are all different areas and have different permits. If we scroll in a little bit closer, those numbers are going to change. And for example, you can see where this little bathtub is. It's a plumbing permit. So that little bathtub is going to correspond with the little bathtub icon down here. And one thing to show you too is that, let's say we're not interested in plumbing permits. We're only interested in a few sections. We can select or deselect everything here. We can check or uncheck in these boxes, or we can exit out up here in these rectangles at the top. So just different ways to filter the information. And so one way to, this is a way to, again, kind of hone in on information that you're interested in finding out. But if we want to set up an alert, I'll show you how to set up an alert for some zoning. Also, one thing to point out, if you exit out of filters, it'll make that left panel go away. If we press this list, we can make it larger, or we can open it and close it. So again, just depending on how you want to view information, you can zoom in and out. Let's see. I will say this before we move to setting up alerts. If we press that, and I just did plumbing just because it's easy. If we press this button right here, you're going to pull up information on that specific permit. Again, it's going to show you the permit number on the right panel, the permit number, when it was applied, when that date would have gone out for you. If you were emailed, that would be on that July 28th. And again, there's that URL for the permanent link to Austin Build Connect. So that's where that is. If there are multiple permits, and where that number 3 is, if I select this number 7, it's going to show me all of the different permits associated with that property. And again, it'll give you just an overview of when those are applied. Actually, in this, if you select those, it'll go back to the specifics. But let's say we want to just set up an alert at 6310. I want to say within a mile radius. And I want to say that I want to know all of the zoning cases going forward. And to set up an alert, first thing we're going to do is set the parameters that we want to have. They want to send us. If you select everything, you'll get everything. If you select only certain things, then you'll get certain things. And you can create your alert. This is where, if you don't have an account, you'll need to create one. And then when you sign in, you can, again, create that alert. There are 2 options that come up. One is for demolition permits, and the other one is to create your own. If you select demolition permits, it's automatically pre-populated. and you can set that up, and it automatically creates that with those parameters. And again, now it says I have one alert set up. But if I want to create my own, I'm going to name this one zoning office. So I'm going to get, and you either have the option for daily, weekly, or monthly. I try to do this weekly because sometimes the daily gets a little busy, and then monthly is a bit of a gap. So, but if you can set those up. So now I have created an alert for the zoning within a mile radius of 6310 Wilhelmina Delco. So I'm going to go back and look at this. This is my alerts, and these are the two ones that I have set up. So now I have an email with any updates for any active demolition permits, or I have this other one that is set up for zoning that's going to send it to me weekly. You can, from this page, you can view it on the map, you can rename, you can delete. So if I view on a map, it's going to pull up the parameters of that alert that I just created. So that is Development Tracker. Again, these three programs, they have information that corresponds with each other or mirrors each other, that interacts not with each other, but that often tie back to the Austin Build Connect. But it's just whatever platform you're most comfortable with and which has the capabilities you're looking for. Okay. Here are the links that are included. So you've got property profile, that overview webpage. It is then the Austin Build Connect and the user manual, how to get to Development Tracker, the online tools, just the website from Development Services. Also, it's the Neighborhood Assistance Center, our group. If you have questions or want more information about how to manage or use these programs, we're happy to help. And then also included Development Process Team. It's another resource that Development Services has for small businesses and for homeowners. So if you need to apply for a permit and not sure where to start, the Development Process Team can help you get on the right path. Things we didn't cover today are the open data portal, the community registry. There's a notifications viewer map and inspector maps. All of those, we have links in that online tools. And if you would like more information about going through any of those, reach out to us at the Development Services team, the Neighborhood Assistance team. I can help with that too. So now, it was a lot of information, not terribly exciting, but I am going to see if there's anything so within the chat, I see a couple of questions or the Q&A. First one is, are we going to receive a recording? Yes, you'll receive a recording of the webinar as well as the slides from today. And then if there's any Q&A, like a Q&A summary, I'll also add that there. And then the GIS layers update instantaneously once a new, so within property profile, the next question is, do GIS layers update instantaneously once new data is fed into a given layer, or is there a lag time? It depends on the information. So for example, I know that if I go into community registry and I change the boundaries for a group within community registry, once I publish those layer updates, then it's automatically. So it's a real-time update. There are some that are updated overnight, and I'll verify with our GIS team about those and include that in the Q&A summary. But my understanding is it depends on which layer, how often those are updated. With that said, if there are any other questions, if you want to see if I can show how, do we have time to look at anything? But if you raise your hand, I can unmute you, or if you want to type anything into the Q&A, I'm happy to show you anything that we have. This is a lot of information. But again, there's a lot of functionality that we have within the different systems. we have time, again, we can continue this, but just in case, there's a couple of surveys available. One is just to see how I did today, if there's anything that would be helpful for future training or any comments you have about, it would be helpful to know as far as if you are new and this is too complicated, or if you are familiar with it and would like more training for different areas, especially, that would be helpful to find out. You can also scan the other QR code to find out about upcoming DSD info sessions that are available. Well, if you do have questions in the future, you can also send a message to our group. It's the DSD communications group. You can send it and it'll get to me also. But otherwise, we will send this out shortly, and hopefully it was helpful. Okay, thanks.